Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are keeping well and safe during this time of global COVID-19 pandemic. I know some of you are anxious with regard to the section 2 of the exam paper, which is the essay portion, and I thought it would be good to share with you my expectation and how you can answer the questions appropriately. If you follow me right to the end of the video, I can guarantee you that you will do extremely well for this paper. Now, the first question is on topic 1, which is basically the strategy for competitive advantage. Now, in question 1, you're asked to describe the 3 key activities in the strategic management process, and why is it important for managers to recognize the interdependent nature of these activities? The way to answer this question is, first of all, name the 3 activities in the strategic management, and then explain the importance of why managers should recognize the interdependent nature of these 3 activities. The 3 key attributes in the strategic management process are analysis, decisions, and actions. Analysis, also called strategy analysis, refers to managers' development of an understanding of the organization, internal and external environment, and the organization overarching goals. Now, these understandings are important prerequisite for the strategic management process. Decision, also called strategy formulation. Now, this refers to the overall plans that firms develop to compete and outperform their rivals. These plans exploit the results of analysis in that companies try to use their strength, limit their weaknesses, exploit the opportunities, and defend against threats simultaneously. Actions, also called strategy implementation, refers to ensuring the proper strategic controls and organizational designs that are put in place to carry out the strategy. Therefore, the interdependent nature of these activities stems from various feedback mechanisms that occur as managers implement their firm's strategies. Unforeseen circumstances, like, for example, the environmental developments, unanticipated resource constraints, or even the changes in managerial preference, will force companies to modify their intended strategy, combining it with an emergent strategy, resulting in a realized strategy. The realized strategy will in turn be modified by further unforeseen circumstances or events. The continual modification of the realized strategy will consist of refined analysis, decisions, and actions that are constantly being updated. In question 2, discuss the key role of technology in leveraging knowledge and human capital. This can be found under topic 2 of leadership in the strategic management process. The way to answer these questions, you can think of it in 3 ways. Firstly, explain technology and how technology can be used to share information, and then explain the various modes of technology and its advantages, for example, video conferencing, email, or electronic communications. And then finally, in codifying knowledge, technology helps to create internal databases that will facilitate problem solving, for example, in the learning organization. Not only technology can be used to share information, but it increases collaboration and codify knowledge as well. For sharing information, email has the advantage of being nearly costless and spanning geographical boundaries. Video conferencing is increasingly being used to mimic face-to-face meetings across large distances. For increasing collaboration, email, video conferencing, and internal networks enable formation of electronic teams or teams that complete tasks primarily through electronic communications. Electronic teams can span geographic regions or even departments within the organization, and that enable collaboration with suppliers or buyers. Now, in codifying knowledge, technology enables the creation of in-house databases that can be used to solve problems. For example, if one professional develops a solution to a problem, codifies it, and then codified solution can be used to help solve future problems of that type. All these practices enhance the company's knowledge and human social capital. Question number 3, describe how the 5 forces can be used to determine the average expected profitability in an industry. The way to answer this question is, first of all, name all the 5 forces and then explain how they interact with each other from the perspective of the industry environment. Now, the 5 forces model consists of 1, the threat of new entrants, 2, the bargaining power of buyers, number 3, the bargaining power of suppliers, number 4, the threat of substitute products and services, and finally, the intensity of rivalry among competitors in an industry. Each force can be looked at as a way that the industry environment limits a company's ability to earn profits through either raising prices or lowering costs. The threat of new entrants limits a company's ability to raise prices because then a new entrant may decide to enter the industry and offer a lower price. The bargaining power of buyers directly limits a company's ability to raise prices. The bargaining power of suppliers directly limits a company's ability to lower costs. And the threat of substitute products and services limits a firm's ability to raise prices because customers would then buy the substitutes. The intensity of rivalry among competitors in an industry limits a company's ability to raise prices because then the customers would buy from a competitor. In question 4, SWOT analysis is a technique to analyze the internal and external environment of a firm. What are its advantages and disadvantages? This comes under topic 4, which is analyzing the organization's internal environment. To answer this question, highlight SWOT and how SWOT provides a useful starting point for improving company's performance. And then highlight not just the positive part, but also the limitation of SWOT. Now, SWOT provides a useful starting point for improving company positioning for their success. However, SWOT is a limited technique with at least 4 problems. Firstly, SWOT may identify strengths, but these do not always translate into competitive advantages. To generate competitive advantages, companies have to understand the source of their strength and then focus resources on developing them. Secondly, SWOT has a too narrow focus on the external environment. Often, a company's future growth comes from peripheral or emerging parts of the market. Thirdly, SWOT is static. Over time, all aspects of a company's environment may change, and SWOT does not offer insights into the processes that cause the change or how a company needs to adapt to a dynamic environment. Fourthly, SWOT may overemphasize single strategic dimension. Now, this overemphasis may lead to neglect of other important factors that affect a company's performance. Now, question 5 is taken from topic 5, which is under decision making. Question 5 asks, why is it important to have a balance between the 3 elements of behavioral control, which is culture, rewards and incentives, and boundaries? You can answer this question in this way. Firstly, organizational culture is a system of shared values and beliefs, and then moved on to describe the importance of why the 3 elements must be balanced. Now, we all know organizational culture is a system of shared values and beliefs that shape the company's people, organizational structures, and control systems to produce behavioral norms. The organizational reward system specifies who gets rewarded and why. The boundaries are clear statement of behavior that is and that is not appropriate, such as which product markets a firm will compete in, short-term objectives and action plans, rule-based controls, and guidelines for proper relationship with customers and suppliers. Now, a balance between these 3 elements is needed. Organizational culture is essential for motivating employees and their identification with the organization and its goals. Now, culture establishes behavioral norms and therefore implicitly set boundaries and reduces monitoring costs. Culture influences beliefs, behaviors, and attitudes, but it is not sufficient for control. So behavior and attitude must be kept focused on organizational goals, and that is where rewards comes in. The rewards are both a motivator and a control system. Ideally, rewards reinforce behavior that is consistent with organizational culture. Rewards helps to ensure that employees work to achieve organizational goals. Boundaries are necessary because even with a strong organizational culture and an effective reward system, it is insufficient. Boundaries are a tool for clearly specifying, even quantifying the limits of acceptable behavior. In question 6, describe some of the pitfalls associated with each of the 3 generic strategies. And this is taken from topic number 6 under competitive strategies. You can approach the question in 2 ways. Firstly, highlight the Porter's 3 generic strategies, and then move on to explain how and why do companies deploy them in order to gain competitive advantage? We all know overall cost leadership. Companies must be scaling up production, learning to produce more efficiently, and minimizing costs on all the activities of the value chain. We all know that pitfalls include too much neglect on specific value chain activities such that the competitive parity is not reached. Weaknesses to an increase in price on inputs, imitation by competitors, insufficient differentiation that buyers do not get acceptable quality, even at a low price, reduced strategic flexibility, and obsolescence of the basis of a cost advantage. In differentiation, companies tend to charge higher prices for their goods, but offer customers same quality or perceived quality advantage for the extra price. The pitfalls include providing a difference that is not perceived to be valuable by the customers, differentiating more than customers desire, charging too high a price, imitation by rivals, dilution of brand image, and the difference in quality perception between the firm and its buyers. For the focus strategies, companies will appeal to a narrow segment of the market, using either a low cost or product uniqueness appeal. The pitfalls include an erosion of price advantages over competitors, imitation of product and service offering, and loss of focused advantage as less focused competitors offer products and services at prices that the niche customers prefer. Question 7 is taken from topic number 7 under supplementing strategies. Question 7 asks, discuss how managers can create value for their firm through diversification efforts. You can answer the question in this way. Firstly, managers can create new value by combining their operations with the new business in a way that increases the diversified firm's value, and then explain the two primary ways for companies creating value, which is lowering costs and increasing revenue. Now, diversification is often more costly for companies to do than for investors. So companies are not doing their shareholders a favor if they diversify without creating value. Managers can create value by combining their operation with the new business in a way that increases the diversified firm's value relative to the combined value of the pre-diversified firms. Now, the two primary methods for creating value are, firstly, lowering costs, and secondly, increasing revenue. For lowering costs, companies are able to operate in multiple businesses and generate a given level of total revenue more efficiently than would be the case if there were separate firms in each business. These lower costs are due to a number of factors, including economies of scale, leveraging core competence, shared activities, and/or vertical integration. For increasing revenue, diversified firms are able to generate more revenue than would be the case if there were separate firms in each business. The increased revenue can be due to processes such as pool negotiating power and possibly vertical integration. Question 8. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages associated with a firm's expansion into international market? This is taken from topic 8 under international focus strategies. You can answer this question in this way. Firms that expand internationally can gain revenue from selling abroad, can lower transportation and input costs by producing near those markets, and access knowledge from human capital worldwide. Secondly, international environment offers world-class suppliers, human resources, technology, and customers, but it has its pitfalls. So firms that expand internationally can gain revenue from selling abroad. It can also lower transportation and input costs by producing near those markets, in accessing knowledge from human capital worldwide. If managed effectively, know-how from various countries can combine efficiently to form new sustainable competitive advantages. The international environment offers world-class suppliers, human resources, technology, and customers. But the disadvantage includes the challenges of dealing with governments that do not have business-friendly policy, with populations that are poor and illiterate, and with countries that do not have infrastructures or stable currencies. In addition, expansion internationally may subject firms to competition, which is both an advantage and a disadvantage. It is a disadvantage because competition may hurt profits in the short term. In the longer term, though, competition spurs firms to improve technology, product, services, and productivity, and therefore a long-term survival prospects. In the final question, question 9, explain the difference between proactiveness and competitive aggressiveness in terms of achieving and sustaining competitive advantage. This question is taken from topic 9 under implementing strategies and modeling. In answering this question, you can highlight two things. Firstly, proactiveness is a way forward-looking perspective characteristic of a marketplace leader that has the foresight to seize opportunities in anticipation of future demand. And secondly, you can talk about competitive aggressiveness is directed at threats in the environment, namely the competitors. Entrepreneurial orientation is the strategy-making practices that businesses use in identifying and launching new ventures, consisting of independence, innovativeness, proactiveness, competitive aggressiveness, and risk-taking. Proactiveness is a forward-looking perspective characteristic of a marketplace leader that has the foresight to seize opportunities in anticipation of future demand. Competitive aggressiveness is an intense effort to outperform industry rivals, characterized by a combative posture or an aggressive response aimed at improving position or overcoming threat in a competitive marketplace. Proactiveness achieves and sustains competitive advantage through first mover advantages. It is a response to market opportunities. First movers can establish brand identity with customers, prevent competitors from access to key resources, move down the experience curve, and set industry standards for technology, product performance, and as well as distribution. Competitive aggressiveness is directed at threats in the environment, namely competitors. Rather than being forward-looking, competitive aggressiveness achieves and sustains competitive advantage by using a business model that enables either lower costs or higher quality than competitors can match. For example, a company that uses open source software will have lower software development costs than a competitor that develops software in-house. With reference to SWOT analysis, proactiveness addresses the O part, which is the opportunities, and competitive aggressiveness addresses the T part, which is the threats.